feel the pressure.
Okay. And everybody gets to listen to this?
Alright,
When everybody's listening, eh?
no, yeah. I'm not nervous. I know everybody in here. I'm not nervous. Josh, you left your notes here. Oh. That's right. Alright.
Prioritize. I have a metaphor for you all.
Sorry, can you?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay.
Can I just say, you guys remind me of like Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, kind of.
That's awesome.
That's a compliment.
Give me a shirt. I'd like a souvenir shirt. Very nice.
Jump the line there.
Yeah. Nice.
Alright.
Two words of advice I would have for you if you're coming in your first year. There's always help if you need it. Be willing to ask for it. It never hurts to be an even better teacher because it's someone else's help and someone else's experience. So never forget that. The second thing is a quote I came up with myself. You might be able to find it on the internet, but if someone else's name on it, it should be mine. Is that in everything in life, no matter what you do, no matter what situation, no matter what person you're dealing with, there's always meat and bones. Chew on the meat and spit out the bones. Sometimes there's a bit more bones than there is meat, and sometimes there's a bit more meat than there is bones, but there's always something that you can take from every situation and every person. Remember that in your whole career.
Go ahead.
Like when we all were like at the picture, like on the card, like we had no idea who anybody was. And like sitting at the table with these people tonight, like these guys have become some of my closest friends in high level. And so that's what I want to say is that it's a real journey. The people in the room that you're sitting in right now will probably end up being some of the closest friends you'll ever make. Done. There you go.
Okay, so when I watched this video last year, or last August, whatever it was, one of the first year teachers from last year, his piece of advice would be, or was, that you were going to need a lot of coffee. And at the time I thought that that was funny and just the kind of thing that you say and you kind of giggle about in a video like this sarcastically, but over the course of the last year I've come to appreciate coffee for its legitimately life-sustaining capabilities. So when I say you're going to need coffee, I mean if you're like me, you're going to need copious amounts of coffee, but try not to get to the point of dehydration and growth stunting or anything like that. That's my first piece of advice. Be yourself and do what works for you. Use the people available to you, but if you are trying to be somebody that you're not, kids are going to see right through that and it's just going to feel fake. So if you're going to be funny the way that you're funny. If you're going to plan a cool lesson that works for you. And lastly, especially at first, worry about tomorrow or whenever the next day of school is. I tried way too hard to be planned for 3-4 weeks ahead, and I would just overwhelm myself and then realize I wasn't ready for tomorrow. So take it one day at a time and get through the next day and then worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's tomorrow.
You are definitely going to have to get used to kids complaining for no reason whatsoever. Especially in Rainbow, you're going to have to get used to working very long hours and knowing that you are the most underpaid person in the community. But finally, to be yourself. And I think anybody who becomes a teacher is weird on some sort of level. And you can't fake it because the kids will see right through it and then you've lost them. So you have to kind of embrace your weirdness and work with that because they will remember that part forever. So you and your students will survive a day or 2 or 3
if you have to wing it. Take care of yourself first, and the rest is going to fall into place. You might not always have a rockin' lesson plan, but your students won't remember your perfectly planned lesson. Let's face it, you're going to fall flat on your face, sometimes, or several times, and your students will laugh at you, but students will remember the relationships you build with them, and those positive relationships will make it all worthwhile.
First of all, the most important thing you need to remember is the hierarchy of needs. Your first need is coffee, of course. It will keep you awake while you read at least 1,000 emails a day, and you'll make lots of mistakes, and you'll need lots of coffee and energy to fix them. Don't waste that energy trying to understand teenagers. And the last piece of advice is remember to stay 100% and take time for yourself. Just relax, take a deep breath.
Whatever you want.
My first piece of advice is to simplify. Try not to do so much. Second piece, be gentle with yourself. Third, above all, love is still the key. So let your love abound.
Always put forth your best effort, but don't burn yourself out. Right? You have to be there for the year. You're not there for one day, one lesson. You're there for the year. So don't burn yourself out, and always be willing to seek and accept help. Go seek it and accept it if it is given to you.
My piece of advice is to prioritize. So I have a metaphor for you all. That bulletin board that you spent 8 or more hours on will probably be appraised by your students for about 30 seconds, to which they'll say, ooh, pretty. Then promptly return to appraising the booger they've just picked out of their nose. You're better off teaching the kids about proper hand washing first. Actually, make that lesson number 1 no matter what the grade. So in all, it's all about preparing your students for life.
My advice would be to don't be afraid to ask for help. Your colleagues are a fantastic resource, and use them wisely your first week.
You're only one person, you can only do so much.
And if you don't know what Snicklefritz is, find out and get the t-shirt.
Yeah!
All right, if I could give some advice to a first-year teacher, it would first of all to be organized. There are tons of due dates, and the only way to not get super overwhelmed by everything you have to do is to stay organized. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. There are so many amazing teachers at your school or in the division, and they're there to help. And my last piece of advice is that now you are living in the north, in the middle of nowhere, so learn how to thrift shop early. Fill your classroom with all sorts of things that you can find. You never know what you're going to find when you go into the thrift store, and you will thank me later.
First of all, some say that if you want, you should probably not smile until Christmas or so to get your classroom management. I'd have to say you don't really have to. Just be firm but fair just when you need to be. Park your ego at the door. It doesn't matter if some student has made fun of you or anything. Take that and they love that, and the more you love them, the more they love you. Look around, see the phys ed teacher in your school. Don't make friends with him. You can't live his lifestyle.
My bit of advice to first year me would be just relax. It's only a job, really. You can't take it too seriously. I mean, you have to try your best, but there's no point in getting too stressed out. If you are, if you're not taking care of yourself, then you're useless to everybody else. Make sure you befriend the custodian and secretaries. They're the most powerful people in school, and people will probably tell you that, but it's true. And find someone who looks like they know what they're doing and try to look like that. And that's it.